It's kind of hard to guess because we've got large systems and then we have small. There's probably 4,000 or 5,000 individual homes, and so 2 or 3 people per home, maybe 15,000 people in individual homes are being served. And then we've got other systems. We developed a way of converting the hull of a barge that supports a hotel, a floating hotel, in effect. And we've been building these for Chevron, and they use them for temporary housing, and they'll house 700 people. And so what we actually do, because when I designed the sledgehammer, I wanted it to be modular. It had to have 2 characteristics. One, it had to be very flexible, because we never knew what kind of tank we were going to be in. We were dealing mostly with retrofits. And it might be a redwood septic tank, or it might be a round fiberglass tank, or a steel tank, or a concrete tank. I wanted to have something that didn't matter what it was in. It would just, all the treatment was being done in the unit itself. So the other thing is I wanted it modular. So if I have 5 people in a house, I put in 1 unit and it covers their treatment needs. If suddenly I'm at a restaurant or at an apartment complex and we've got 20 people, or you have a restaurant where a lot of people eating and there's so much higher strength, then you need bigger tanks, and we can then just put the units in as multiples. And so what we did was we carried that to extremes. These Bibby, it's a Bibby Lines, is a company out of England that makes these large floating vessels. We took the hull and used the void spaces in the hull and put in like 32 sledgehammers in these tanks to handle 700 people. We carried that to the nth degree in Libya. We built a plant in Libya that is for a slaughterhouse and a large marketplace. So there's going to be the administrative offices, all the markets, all this big slaughterhouse and everything else. That process there, that's got 200 sledgehammers in it. And it's the tank itself is like 1.4 million gallons, but it's designed to treat 400,000 gallons a day. So it's really the equivalent, because it's high strength coming from the slaughterhouse, it's the equivalent of a town of about 10,000 people. And that system, we were ready to kick it off last April, and revolution occurred. So it's still sitting there. I was actually there last week. I looked at it, and there was a little bit of damage from looting and things like that, but it's pretty much ready to go. So we're going to be, within the next 6 months or so, we'll get it up online. The water quality, if we look at, let's take a single family home, and you put a unit into a single family septic tank, the water you get out of it is, generally will be equivalent to about tertiary treatment. It'll have a BOD of 1 or 2, we've had system after system where we've looked at, we've gone back in, they've been operating for years. You look at that water, it looks like drinking water. It has no odor at all. That's one of the first things that happens when we put the system in. The odors disappear completely. That water then becomes, you're looking at it and you realize that water is way too valuable to waste. I mean, the very name wastewater should be illegal. You can't waste water. I was just in Libya for this conference, and they're very concerned about it. We had, in fact, here, this Sunset magazine's got some pictures that we did in New Mexico. What we do is we get it to the level where it's now usable for whatever purpose you want. But because it's so clean, we can run it through subsurface drip emitters. And when we put them in the subsurface drip emitter, that means we can plow a line right into the ground. And you can do, well, let's see, at Trout Creek, Michigan, what we did was a large play field, so it was almost like a soccer field. Other ones in New Mexico, we did several systems that were the landscape irrigation around a home. Or, in fact, one instance, there was a homeowner who was able to separate his property into zones, and then he had a real simple computer control that used lysimeters in the soil in each zone that told the computer whether it was saturated or not. And we combined that with a rainwater harvest system so that that homeowner could, if this was dry, it would kick on and it would irrigate the trees in this area. It would move to the next, and if that was already wet, it would then pass and go to the next. And so it only irrigated those areas that needed the water or could use the water, and that way we preserved that water to the largest degree, and we were able to irrigate the largest area. Now the homeowner looked at it and he said, because in New Mexico right now, there's a serious issue with drought. The pinon pines that have come down in that whole area are dying all over. And he looked at that system and he said, you know, you realize it would have cost me more to just remove the dead trees than this entire wastewater system cost. And, you know, I mean, it's the value of this water for recovery and recapture is incalculable.